Your life.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of CampusCare Inter-School Debate Competition, presented exclusively by N.
Wait,
For those,
wait, wait. There is some error. What's going on? Wait. I can't even end the stream. Some playback error is coming in the link. Yeah,
no
go on,
worries, so we
Akshita.
can
We're
wait
live.
for two
We're
seconds.
live. We're live. Go on, darling.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of CampusCare Inter-School Debate Competition, presented exclusively by Entab. For those who are new to our channel, allow me to quickly brief you about Entab. We are a 20-year-old IT company dedicated to transforming good schools into the best schools through our award-winning automation software, learning management system, mobile apps, among others. Now, you must be wondering why an IT organization is hosting events for schools and educators. As we are aware, we're fighting a pandemic. Schools are closed. We believe children should not miss out on inter-school competitions and seminars. Hence, we are conducting various contests for leading schools in India, Campus Care Debate being one of them. That reminds me, we have an inter-school quiz competition this Sunday, that is 13th of September. So do join us there. Let's quickly go through the rules of the debate competition. Every contestant will get 5 minutes to speak on the topic. The speech must not exceed 7 minutes. After the participant finishes their speech, the floor will be open for interjection. An interjector is allowed only one question per contestant. Cross questioning is not allowed. Speaking out of turn or any misbehavior can lead to immediate disqualification, so be very careful. The decision by the jury will be deemed final. Now we have some exciting news for our lovely subscribers as well. The best comments from the comment section will win exciting prizes. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. The winners will be announced on our social media platforms. Check the description box for all the details. Well, it's time to meet our wonderful contestants. First one, we have Shruti Raj from Notre Dame Academy, Jamalpur. Shruti, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Shruti Raj from Notre Dame Academy, Jamalpur. I am a class 12 student, and today I will speak for the motion that is, yes, I do believe that WHO failed in its response towards this global pandemic.
Okay, thank you, Shruti. Now we have Athena Biju from GD Goenka World School, Gurgaon. Athena, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Athena. I'm 15 years old and I will be speaking the proposition. And I do believe that WHO failed the world with respect with the performance they produced in the pandemic. Right.
Thank you, Athena, for the lovely introduction. Now we have Siddhant Arora from Manav Rachna International School, Charmwood. Siddhant, please introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Siddhant. Today I'll be speaking for the motion. I'm a grade 12 student.
Okay, all right. Now we have Harshita Tanti from Notre Dame Academy, Jamalpur. Harshita, please introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, this is Harshita Tanti from Notre Dame Academy, Jamalpur. I'm an 11th science student and I'm a PCB student and I'm going to go against the motion.
All right. Now we have Harshita Hari from GD Goenka World School, Gurgaon. Harshita, please introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is Harshita Hari and I'll be going against the motion, meaning WHO didn't fail the world.
Okay, all right. Next we have Reejul Raj from Manav Rachna International School, Charmwood. Reejul, please.
Greetings everyone, I'm 17 and I'll be speaking against the motion that WHO did not fail the world in its pandemic response.
Okay, well, it's time to meet our esteemed jury. First, we have Dr. Vandana Gupta. She is the principal of EuroSchool North Campus, Bengaluru. Ma'am, your message to the...
Hi, first of all, thank you, Anuja, for inviting me over as one of the jury. I think today's topic, pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, much like a war, is a very defining moment for the entire world. So that's a very apt topic. And I'm sure we have a plethora of talent present here from across the country. The best six, I'm sure, are here. and not saying much at this moment. I'll just wish them all the very best with their arguments, rhetoric, and style. So go for it. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the lovely message. Now we have Anuja, ma'am. She is the principal of Silver Crest School, Pune. Ma'am, your message to the participants.
Thank you, Ashmita. Good evening, all. I have been in a teaching field for last 20 years. Today, I am a proud principal of Zeal Education Society, Silvercrest School. I thank Entab Private Limited for bringing the technology into education, especially in this unprecedented time. I thank all the organizing events, whichever you have conducted right now. I am excited to witness this debate and listen to different viewpoints by students. All the best to all the contestants. Have an healthy debate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We are excited as well. And thank you for the lovely message. Well, moving on to the debate. The topic of the debate is, did WHO, World Health Organization, fail the world in its pandemic response? Let's hear it out from the contestants. Let's begin with for the motion category. So I invite Shruti Raj from Notre Dame Academy, Jamalpur. Shruti, please go ahead. Shruti, I think there's some internet issue. Well, that's going to happen because we're all online and technical glitches are bound to happen. It's fine. We're going to wait for Shruti. Shruti, I think, try again.
Can you go?
No.
Sorry for the network disturbance.
No, it's fine. We understand, it must be raining in your place, I'm sure. So, no worries. Try reconnecting again. We'll move on to the next contestant. We'll go with Athena. Athena? You ready?
Yes.
Yes, she's from Goenka World School. So, Athena, please go ahead.
Okay. So the question here is if the World Health Organization failed the world with its pandemic response. And I truly believe so. They did fail the world with their pandemic response. You see, April 14, 2020 was a really important day for the whole world. Because this day, Donald Trump announced that he will halt WHO's funding. Now, why is this so important? Because US is one of those countries which produces 15% of the total funding, so that is $400 million annually to WHO's $2.6 billion plan each year. This, described by the UN chief, was this unprecedented thing they were supposed to do, and he went on to say this was not the time to cut the funds. Very important. This came ahead with a lot of uproar from all sides and corners. The YouTube CEO, she went ahead to say that we'll ban any coronavirus content against the WHO guidelines because of the same reason, because of which it was so difficult to actually research for this topic as well. Now, what did WHO do wrong? First thing, they created an overly differential stance towards China, supporting China throughout the event. Secondly, they were very, very politically charged with the responses, which is something not ideal because health and politics, they never go together. The best way to understand what is going on here is through understanding a timeline, a whole timeline which tells us what exactly happened, where did WHO actually go wrong, so that we don't be misguided throughout these steps. The first thing you have to understand is that Bruce A. Ward, the head of the joint WHO crisis organization, on February 25, 2020, praised China for its efforts in containing the coronavirus. So you see a clear support for them through the statement he made, which said, a phenomenal collective action by the people of China is seen through this response. Well, the WHO Director General, Tedros Adhanom, also praised China day before the statement, saying that the rapid responses claim can actually change the course of the epidemic. A lot of things happened during this time. This was all a breeze, but to understand, we have to truly start at the beginning. November 16, virus first spreads and everyone is in panic, in China at least, because the first containment of the virus was told then. You see, South China Morning Post actually reported that Shanghai facility actually sent the virus's genome to the authorities at WHO. They tried to publicize the information as way back as January 12, and today the organization is closed for rectification. Rectification under quotes because that is the only reason given. Or through virology.org, this was also submitted. There was a report submitted, pre-published on this very famous site, saying that 89% of similarity was observed between the SARS virus and the coronavirus, which indicated that there was a lot of human-to-human transmission involved. This went unnoticed. The WHO praised China for their quick and prompt genome producing and submission to the WHO for research, declining to admit the fact that it took China 17 days. They were 17 days late to actually produce this. So when you think about it that way, they were actually late. And they also closed a facility that actually informed them about it before. So it is very, 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 very suspicious to think about it. They also did not let WHO officials actually get in Wuhan, the city, for research purposes for 3 weeks. They held them back, but none of this was mentioned to the press. None of this was mentioned in the clear statement by WHO. WHO is a societal body. People look up to them. People want to see what is going on. People want to understand what the pandemic is doing. And when you fail people this way by not being honest, you're truly failing the entire population. Meanwhile, yes, people were praising China for their effort. On February 28th, Michael Ryan went ahead to say that, oh, China's joint effort has been amazing, and all the praises from all corners. Meanwhile, WHO also praised the openness the Chinese government shown. So this is another point of integrity, something very, very important to notice. Dr. Maria Wong, she also went ahead to say that as way back in January 11, WHO actually said that there may be a sign of human-to-human transmission. And she said this in a video which was uploaded on 21 August 2020, which is very, very keen to remember. But, minor problem. They also said that international travel did not require any interference. So if you knew that human-to-human transmission was going to happen, why did you not ban international travel? Why did you not recommend to countries to actually have a policy set? Why did you not do that? When you ask these questions, you truly come to the crux of it. This was a political propaganda in a way. This could be speculated, but absolutely, I'm not holding any promises here. I can only promise objectivity. Moving on, Taiwan, this country came forward and actually submitted a report saying that this seems like a pneumonia kind of virus. There may be human-to-human transmission, but WHO denied the fact. While Taiwan kept on spreading masks throughout the country, today they have the lowest rates in coronavirus. Just yesterday, they only reported one increased case. They kept on spreading masks throughout the country. WHO, on the other hand, advised the people that they shouldn't do that. Rather, only people who had symptoms should do that. The issue with this is that asymptomatic carriers exist in real life. Asymptomatic carriers are people who do not even show symptoms of the virus. They don't show the symptoms, but they do have the virus. And yes, there's mounting evidence. Even in June, a piece published by the WHO themselves, they admitted that yes, they were spreading the virus, but not very likely. You see, no one really cares about likely if they've actually got the virus. So that is very, very key to note. They not only provided a lot of information that was wrong, despite a lot of mounting evidence from various facilities throughout the world, they also praised them continually, all the time. In fact, Bruce Aylward, the guy who first actually was in the WHO-China joint effort, he was asked by a Hong Kong reporter if they would consider bringing in Taiwan into the WHO body. He basically kept still, did not say anything, told her that the internet connection was flawed, and then she asked him that whether she could ask him the question again. He basically said, no need to ask the question again. It was very apparent that he was uncomfortable, and then he did not answer the question. He actually switched off the call, then she called him back, after which he basically said that all the Chinese provinces have been doing very well, not even a mention of Taiwan. You see, Taiwan was barred from entering the WHO as a member state way back in 2015 because China refused to acknowledge it as an independent entity of its own.
Athena, are you there? Has it just paused for me, or has her video paused for everyone?
The video, I guess she got.
I think she lost connection.
Yeah, she must have lost connection, or maybe there is no electricity.
I think that's the problem. So what we can do is we can move on to the next contestant. Let's move on. Shruti, do you want to give it a try? Shruti Raj?
Yeah, sure, I would like.
Yeah, your audio and video seems fine. Yeah, I think let's give it a try. Please go ahead, Shruti, while we wait for Athena to reconnect.
Okay, so I would like to draw your attention again towards the fact that how different was the reaction of WHO towards this pandemic of 2020 and towards its reaction towards the pandemic of 2002 and 2003, that was SARS. During the SARS pandemic, WHO highly WHO was against China, and it was okay. I'm sorry. But during this time, WHO was full of praises for China. WHO even issued statements saying that China has bought the world time. So WHO was in no mood of against China. But I would like to draw your attention towards the fact that what has changed in the past 2 decades, that WHO has the reaction of WHO has changed so much. So I would like to, according to me, it is money. Because from 2014 to 2020, the fundings of China in WHO has increased by 52%. 14% increase has been there in the extra amount that China gives to WHO. So is it like WHO does not want to stop its fundings? Is WHO being fair towards the world? No, WHO is absolutely not being fair towards the world. Also, during the 2017 elections, Dr. Tedros Adhanom was highly supported by China. So is it like he is returning some favors back to China? If it is so, I think this is a highly unprofessional act and it should be condemned. China should be blamed absolutely for spreading this pandemic because I think this is maybe an unpopular opinion, but this pandemic would not have become worse if China initially took steps. China knew about this since 2020 January, but China took it very leniently and they were very reluctant to let the world know about this. But still, when on 28 January, Dr. Tedros met Xi Jinping, he was full of praises for him. He was in no mood to go against China. Like why? So there could be possibly two reasons because China favored him, and secondly, WHO does not want to end its fundings or does not want any hampering with its fundings, and I think which is very unfair towards the other countries. Also, I would like to draw attention towards the fact that all the developed countries and WHO knew about what effects this pandemic will have on the whole world from the very beginning. They knew that how badly it is going to affect the economy of all the countries. They knew that medical facilities are going to fall short, but and hence all the developed countries were prepared for it. But what WHO's responsibility as an international health crisis organization was to help the developing countries and the underdeveloped countries. WHO should have collected funds, should have launched programs so that all the underdeveloped countries and developing countries could have been helped. Medical facilities could have been provided to them, but WHO did not do any such thing. I think maybe because WHO was not prepared to deal with this pandemic, or it was too reluctant to go against China, or I must say that was it something that was pre-planned by China? Did China actually want all these bad effects on other countries so that the economy of China gets a lift up and China becomes a more developed country and becomes a superpower? So is WHO actually favoring China? If it is so, I think it is very wrong. Because being an international organization, WHO should not be so unfair. WHO should have, I think, and also I would like to add something. I suddenly remember that during the 2002 and 2003 pandemic, WHO issued a travel advisory, though SARS was not such a huge pandemic as such as coronavirus is. But during this pandemic, WHO did not issue any travel advisory. Also, it did not condemn China's act of taking the pandemic so leniently during the beginning stages. No, all the coronavirus patients were easily moving within the country and even outside the country, which worsened the situations. So why I think I will not ask again that why is it so, because I think it is very clear that WHO is either returning its favors to China, or it is because of money. Because for WHO, I think money matters more than being professionally and helping out the underdeveloped countries and the developing countries. So that is my point for now.
Thank you.
I would like to conclude here.
Thank you so much. The floor is now open for interjection. Anybody who wants to question. Harshita was the first one to raise her hand, so I think we're going to go with Harshita. Harshita Hari, please go ahead.
Okay, so you said in your speech that the fact that SARS, how was SARS contained so well to COVID? But my question is, how can you compare SARS to COVID when it was not even 1/10 of the scale? It was maxed down to an epidemic. It was not even a pandemic, and the information for SARS was given like it was given right after the regulation. So how can you compare the two? That's my
I
question.
think that is my point, that SARS was not even close to coronavirus, but still WHO took so many steps to avoid it. And in fact, WHO was like strongly opposing China for not taking steps against it. But during this coronavirus thing, it is even more bigger than SARS. So what WHO should have taken even more stronger steps, and WHO should have highly condemned this act of China, because it is the whole world suffering because of this act of China. China taking so leniently this thing, it made the whole world suffer. I think that is my point. That if you can take such an something that is not even close to a pandemic or an epidemic so so importantly, but you're not taking a pandemic seriously. Like, why is it so? Like, you're full of praises for China when you know what it has done to the world. Like, that was my point. So it's like WHO being highly unfair, maybe due to its fundings or whatever the reason it is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Shruti. Thank you, Harshita. Athena, we are glad to have you back. I think you were concluding your speech when the internet went down.
Ashwina,
Yes.
that's what I was about to say. She wants to close her speech, and she also didn't get time to face the interjection and everything. All right. Okay.
Yes. So please go ahead and conclude your speech, and yes, and then we'll go with the interjection. Please, Athena, please go ahead.
Yes, I apologize again. That was unprecedented. Okay, so moving on. My ending point was this. See, Bruce Aylward, he clearly was uncomfortable during the line of questioning. It was not until March 11 when WHO finally went ahead and declared this to be a global pandemic. In Oxford Learner's Dictionary, the basic thing you learn, the definition of a pandemic itself that you learn is this: that a global pandemic occurs when it spreads throughout a country or throughout the world. And during this time, Italy had already declared a national lockdown. With proportion to its population, it had about 100,000 cases during this time. It's very questionable as to what was going on. Human to human transmission, this had been declared back in January 11. So why did they go ahead and allow international travel if they were so sure about it? There are so many questions, and during this entire time, they were praising China over and over again. I've shown you extracts for the same. The thing is that WHO severely misguided the world. They did. They did severely misguide the world. The world was under the impression of several other things, despite the mounting evidence for the contrary. Asymptomatic careers, Shanghai facilities, all of these things, they came to a halt because WHO wouldn't listen. And WHO is not a body for one specific country. It is not a body for one specific country. It's not a body who's there to suck up to another country. It's a body there to serve the people of the world. It's a body there to actually take care of international cooperation. You see, the societal stance WHO has is that people and governments and ministries, whole ministries, listen to them because they know for a fact that WHO is reliable. WHO is what will aid the world. But when you let people down, you also fail the world population. They were late. They were late to announce this, and that is exactly what they did wrong. They failed the world with the response to this pandemic. And that, I think, should be a key word here and something key to remember. Thank you.
Thank you, Athena, for concluding it very beautifully. Yes, we will take Reejul's question. Do you want to interject, Athena?
Yes, good afternoon. First things I want to make something clear that zoonotic potential, the potential a virus has to infect another person, is not known unless it is fully infiltrated a human population or a population center. Second thing, the WHO joint China mission was available online for anyone to read before they declared it a global pandemic. And the risk assessment 72 hours after when China first reported it to WHO on 31st of January was high to the world and very high to very high to China. So I don't get that how the WHO downplayed it or minced its words.
What is your exact question there? Can you frame it as a question?
My question is that when a country is going through a pandemic, you cannot come out on an international stage and blast it. You have to defend it while making sure it takes the adequate steps. So the WHO Joint China Mission report was available. The risk assessment for China was very high. For the world, it was high. And this was already done before February. So, yeah.
See, the question, if you're asking, is this that they were very honest and very, very, very intricate about everything that is happening. I think that is very, very false, considering the fact that there were many other reports that were going through that time. Shanghai report, the virology.org report, which I mentioned. All of these reports were going on over and over again. And as an international organization, your first stance is not to defend a country for doing anything at all. No, your job is to defend the health of the impoverished countries throughout the world, the underdeveloped countries, the people who actually need you. Not places like China. Even the people of China, they were suffering and they needed more information. They were barred from entering China for 3 weeks. That's a long amount of time for the virus to actually spread. Even Bloomberg News reported that China may be misrepresenting information in terms of cases and both deaths. So when knowing that it was very apparent that there was a lot of honesty being lacked there and no one really questioned it. And WHO was the first international body as a body of science, not as a body of health this time, as a body of science, the first thing they should take care of is integrity. And that is what is the first rule of science. You accept it when you're wrong and you try to rectify it, which did not happen. We still see a lot of bodies trying to defend WHO, but that isn't the case. They did fail the world with a late response, and that is something we should remember as the mounting evidence that suggests. Thank you for the question, though.
Thank you, Athena. Thank you. Now we have Siddhant Arora from Manav, Rachna International School, Charmwood. Siddhant, please go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Good evening to one and all present here, honorable judges, host of this revered conference, and our audience. I wanted to come up here and be very sure that I'll be very succinct and very to the point. As Henry VIII told his first wife, I shall not keep you long. But now finding myself speaking after Athena and after Shreya, I feel more like Henry VIII's last wife, where I know more or less what I'm expected to do, but I don't know how to do it any differently. Anyway, let's start with the conversation. On 31st of December, Chinese authorities told the World Health Organization about the new pneumonia-like cases that are emerging in Wuhan. Taiwan, which Beijing had barred from membership in the organization, sent the World Health Organization a note asking for more information about a SARS-like outbreak, implying that all the cases might have some transmission between humans. The World Health Organization did not reply. But that very day, Taiwan imposed a border control procedure and quarantine measures to prevent the spread of the disease. Taiwan, a country of 24 million people, has less than 500 cases and 7 deaths. The Taiwan Center for Disease Control also dispatched experts to Wuhan to gain a better understanding of the epidemic. The control measures were taken and patients' history was exposed. Based on preliminary research, Taiwan determined that this form of pneumonia could indeed transfer from human to human. But notoriously, on 14th of January, World Health Organization endorsed the Chinese claim based on a preliminary investigation that while this might be another example of animal to human transmission of a novel virus, as can happen when wild animals are butchered and sold in Chinese wet markets, there was no evidence of human to human transmission. This was a claim those trying to cope with the developing crisis in the city of Wuhan knew to be false. The World Health Organization passed this reassuring news in a tweet. Governments around the world, which rely on the World Health Organization as the most authoritative source of information on infectious diseases, took note of this. Even after China revealed that human-to-human transmission was occurring, the WHO played down the need of action. It delayed announcing a global health emergency for almost a week until the end of January. And even then, it worried about not offending China. The greatest enemy we face is not the virus itself, WHO Director General Tedros said. He also said that it is the stigma that turns us against each other. While important, this underplayed the threat of the virus. Indeed, for weeks, Tedros praised Chinese actions and downplayed the outbreak. On February 3rd, he reported to World Health Organization's executive board that efforts to control the virus had already been in place, and the spread of the disease to other countries will be at a minimal. If it is minimal and slow, nothing is going to happen outside and it will be controlled easily. These were his exact words. On 22nd of January, the World Health Organization's Emergency Committee convened by a teleconference to discuss whether the novel coronavirus could be stated as a PHEIC, which is a public health emergency of international concern, the highest level of alarm short of a pandemic. And after the entire committee, can you believe that they decided that it was not an international concern? But interestingly, that was 22nd of January, by the way. On 23rd of January, China decided that they had to toughen up their measures. And accordingly, WHO also decided that they had to reconvene. But since they had already decided that it was not an international concern, they decided on a more intermediate level of alert. This happening after the virus had already spread to Japan, South Korea, and Thailand.
Siddhant, just wanted to clarify, are you reading from the screen?
Absolutely not, ma'am. I'm looking at the camera.
Okay, all right. Yeah, just please go ahead.
Right. Where was I? Okay, wait. We were talking about a PHEIC, right? After PHEIC was not declared, let's talk about the situation where flights were being banned by US and Italy. We all know how important travel restrictions are to contain a pandemic. It's been historically proven, even in the case of SARS. But Tedros said that this would actually increase stigma and disregarded this entire action. WHO eventually did step up its advice, but most of the harm was already done. On 11th of March, a pandemic was declared by WHO, but by this time, over 100 countries had already got the virus. The global pandemic response was out of the frying pan and into the fire. Let's talk about two more distinct acts where WHO displayed that it was not up to the mark. In April, where it declared that masks were required, while before April, it was like no masks are required. We can also talk about how around 6-7 months into the pandemic, there were almost 200 scientists at WHO's door writing open letters saying that the coronavirus can be transmitted through aerosol transmission, while WHO had disregarded this possibility up until now. Now, speaking up about China might have caused Tedros some trouble, right? Because Tedros, after all, as Athena said, he was elected with the support of China and its bloc. But this is the cost of putting the needs of the people first. Now let's talk about what would have happened if WHO had actually acted accordingly. New York Times reported that researchers using data from the University of Washington estimated that even a week or two early, if WHO had acted, we might have reduced the number of cases right now by almost 50 to 80%. With proper global leadership, we might have had a very different trajectory. A mission-driven WHO would not have repeatedly praised China for being transparent, when it was anything but that. And another example of this can be when WHO refuting the American government, when it referred to coronavirus as the Chinese virus, while when within its own borders, the WHO was calling the coronavirus as the USA virus. WHO refuted America for calling it the Chinese virus, but not China for calling it the American virus. We can end this by talking about SARS. SARS was also a combination of wild animals in the wet market. But the response at that time was much, much stronger. China didn't do well during that pandemic, and WHO publicly spoke so. And if I remember correctly, China even put it into its law to act accordingly the next time. But Of course, China didn't follow its policies properly, and neither did WHO. Its reluctance to challenge what it had been told by China has costed the world dearly. In the end, I would like to quote Alex Azar. We saw that WHO failed at its core mission of informing and sharing transparency when member states do not act in good faith. Thank you. You're not audible, ma'am. I think your mic is switched off.
Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you. It happens in Zoom calls so many times. So
Right.
we'll go. Hari, we're already done with you, so we'll go with Harshita Tanti this time. Harshita Tanti, please go ahead.
Siddhant said that WHO delayed to call for an international emergency. I would like to answer that. That was because at that time, small numbers of active cases were outside China. That's why it was not more of an international emergency. What would you like to say about that?
It was still an international emergency in the sense that as per the WHO's mandate, you call any pandemic a national emergency when it is spread throughout the country. As it was, a country like China spreading throughout Wuhan is a very comparable factor, and spreading to other countries such as Thailand, Italy, or for that matter, Japan. At this point, when we have realized that international spreading has already occurred, people have left Wuhan, they have left to the airports, they've already left different countries. The first case of US had already been reported. At this point, not calling it an international concern was the wrong move, in my opinion, at least.
All right, thank you, Siddhant, for answering it. Let's look at the other side of the coin now. We are starting with against the motion category. So first we have Harshita Tanti from Notre Dame Academy, Jamalpur. Harshita, please go ahead.
WHO is constantly being criticized for its efforts in this corona pandemic. But we cannot ignore it that it has played a very, very crucial role in tackling this unfortunate situation. Countries are going through several problems, obstacles, like it would be unawareness, lack of precautions, misleading guidance, information, etc. And all these problems are handled by WHO in a very appropriate manner. So, I am going to try to prove that WHO did not fail the world in its pandemic response, but is leading the global response in various ways. First, helping countries to prepare and respond. WHO issued a strategic preparedness and response plan, according to which it is guiding the countries to prepare, respond, and take actions accordingly. The health agencies, 6 regional offices, and country offices are working together with the governments of the world to develop the health systems and respond effectively when the cases arise. Next, WHO is providing accurate information. We all know internet is a plethora of knowledge, but at times it can also be called as the plethora of myths. Internet provides us various kinds of information. Some are true, some are false, and some are really funny. In the midst of all these information, this infodemic, WHO is trying to provide accurate, useful guidance which can help save lives. It is doing through several platforms like Instagram, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Viber, etc. Third, it is ensuring to provide personal protective equipment to frontline health workers. WHO has shipped more than 1 million of protective equipment to frontline health workers and had planned to increase its supplies according to the supply chain task force. Fourth, it is planning to train millions of health workers via its Open WHO program. Its aim is to transfer life-saving knowledge to the frontline health workers so that the lives of the people be saved, including their own. Fifth, to search for a vaccine. WHO brought together more than 400 of the world's top researchers in February 2020 to identify research priorities. It issued a solidarity trial which involved 90 countries whose aim was to actually discover any kind of existing drugs which could slow the progression of the disease or improve survival. Apart from all these, WHO also set up a solidarity fund That is to ensure patients get the facilities and health care they need. Moreover, it also sent emergency medical teams to places where those places were identified as disaster or emergency zones. These medical teams were highly skilled and trained and were definitely as an asset for the whole world. Next, also, when US halted the WHO's payments, WHO still continued to speed the development, production, and distribution of treatments throughout the world. And apart from all this, if you still think that WHO has failed, I would like to ask you a question. What would happen if WHO wouldn't exist? Well, I'm not really sure what would have happened, but I'm really sure that we would not have been sitting right here doing this competition. Decreased death rates, which is now only 4%, and increased recovery rates, which is now 96%, tells us that how WHO has worked. At last, I would like to mention a line that Tedros Adhanom said in his speech on 8th of April that WHO is committed to serve all the people of the world with equity, objectivity, and neutrality. And I definitely think that WHO has kept his words and will always be there, bringing the world together in such hard times. Thank you.
Thank you, Harshita. Thank you for your lovely views. I'm opening the floor for interjection. Anybody who wants to? Siddhant, please go ahead.
You mentioned the research done by WHO with 90 countries to find existing drugs to cure coronavirus, so help with coronavirus. One of the preliminary shortlisting for those drugs was hydroxychloroquine. Although it was disregarded afterwards, the name hydroxychloroquine coming into the media caused a lot of distress and a lot of mismanagement, misinformation, even within the masses. So, wouldn't you think that WHO once again failed in providing accurate data there?
See, I think WHO clearly told that hydroxychloroquine is not suitable for the treatment of coronavirus. It was clearly on the internet that it is not suitable for it. So I don't think so. It was any kind of misconception or mismanagement.
Thank you, Harshita, for answering it. Now we have another Harshita coming up. She's Harshita Hari from GD Goenka World School. Harshita Hari, please go ahead.
Okay. So, good evening, everyone. I'm Harshita Hari, and I'm going against the motion. Sorry. So, at this very moment, there's 27.8 million cases that are positive from the novel coronavirus. An alarming amount, I agree, but I'm here to say that WHO is not the contributing factor or did not fail the public and did not fail the world with this virus. And before I go into my arguments and giving my justification, I want to remind you guys what WHO is and what they stand for. So WHO, World Health Organization, is part of the UN body, and their aim is to work with their member states to help fix health concerns and health facilities and medical concerns. So when being a UN body, it comes with a lot of rules, regulations, and rules, regulation, and abidements. So now that's my first defense to why I don't think WHO failed this global pandemic. So to begin with, we're going to start with the regulations. So I'm going to be starting with the International Health Regulation 2005. So this was established after the SARS outbreak, like many of my fellow debaters said here about the SARS outbreak. This was established after the SARS outbreak, and the regulations basically state that in Article 7 and 6 of the IHR 2005, it states that parties like if a country faces unusual public health concerns, they should inform the WHO within 24 hours. Now, here I'm going to state the first failure, which is the Chinese government. They did not conclude to the fact that in 24 hours they concluded the fact that the novel coronavirus outbreak was taking place in Wuhan. They actually stated the date as December 31st, 2019. So that was the first time they actually came out to WHO and proposed that there is unusual events happening with health concerns in Wuhan. So this was the first failure that I would be pointing out, which is the Chinese government. They conceal the information, especially during a high peak time of holidays, where there's a high peak of trade and travel. So yeah, that makes me go to my second point, which is basically Taiwan's role. Now, like all my fellow debaters here talked about Taiwan and talked about how WHO had concealed and did not take their beliefs and what they said about the virus or their predictions about the virus and disregarded it. Strongly disagree here because Taiwan, let's be honest, first, it's not a member state of the WHO. And that also leads to me saying that when this information was given by Taiwan, that it's a human-to-human transmitting disease. Right after China had defended and said that no, it's not a human-to-human transmitting disease. There has not been any proof saying that it is a human-to-human transmitting disease. So here again, I do, as you guys can see, that there is a pattern of China and the government concealing the information, or maybe just not disregarding it. Now, the third point was many people stated the fact that why was emergency teams not sent to China if the information was being so cloudy and the timings of information was coming late? Why did it take so long for WHO to send emergency team? Well, they never sent one because if you look at WHO's mandate, they cannot send a certain emergency team or anyone disregarding to a country if they do not send an invite. So if China never sent an invite to WHO to come to test or examine the pattern of the coronavirus. So this is another reason I wanted to state about how Siddhant had mentioned about the SARS and COVID, how they've been drastically different terms. But one thing people are missing out is on the fact that the emergency team was sent for SARS, but not for here. So that's one of the major reasons why I think Chinese government failed this outbreak. And now I'm going to go to the actual politics and actually talk about the fact that what exactly caused this outbreak and what exactly made this outbreak so massive and why it's almost unreachable at this point. So firstly, the US and China trade war, everyone's aware of it. And also it was very surprising to see that US and China came to a trade deal. I mean, it's not China, Beijing came to a trade deal with US this year. So US took 6 weeks to declare a national emergency that includes social distancing and that also includes wearing of masks and a lockdown. It took 6 weeks to declare national emergency, while it says that WHO had concealed information, while the president himself, for 6 whole weeks after the declaration of WHO saying that it's a global pandemic and countries were closing down their economies, US didn't. So that's one of the reasons why US's cases has been skyrocketing, because of the first crucial 6 weeks was disregarded for. Now, the whole question, did WHO fail the pandemic? I still say they haven't and they still aren't, because the initial response was a lot of miscommunication and there was a lot of politics involved, but there's still hope to end it. There's still hope to end it, and WHO is still working towards that hope. As you know, recently US had removed their funding from WHO, and also one very important fact to know is that WHO is the least paid UN body. They have the budget of one large US hospital. So that's their budget, and they have a globe of 7 billion people that they have to manage with different presidents. So just imagine with that income and how much they're doing, I think that's quite impressive. And with the circumstances they were put in, it's very impressive. And also, don't disregard the fact that they have failed it because they're still working towards the ending of this pandemic. They have initiated about 120 different trials, and many of them are on stage 3. And also, they have worked with UN. So basically, there's a UN framework for socio-economic COVID crisis to combat them for the short term, long term, and the mid-term and the long term. So did WHO finally fail? I don't think so. There is no failing. If we say this was the end, and again, WHO, you need to remember that WHO is consisting of members of different countries. So accepting failure is not the right point, and I don't think they have failed. The pandemic, yes, it's gone out of scale, but there's always going to be an end, and they're definitely not going to fail us. Thank you.
Thank you, Harshita. A lot of emphasis on China by Goenkans, huh? Okay, all right. So Siddhant has been raising his hand for a while now, so we'll go with Siddhant. Please go for your question.
Thank you, ma'am. You mentioned in the middle about being very adamant on saying that there is no human-to-human transmission. While reports from Taiwan,
I said Taiwan.
I said no human-to-human transmission during the initial.
Okay, right,
no.
right. Sorry.
Right, we're fine. Beijing. Yeah. While Taiwan was stating that there is human-to-human transmission, and at this point, WHO decided to side with China. Right. Just give me another minute. At this point, there's a concept called peer review. If you're into research, you'll know about it. Every report that has been released has to be peer reviewed by other people in the scientific communities that can be either disregarded or elevated. In this case, no such procedure was followed. I want your opinion on that. And also, I would like to point out that our question here today was not did China fail or did US fail, or for that matter, did India fail? Our question was, could WHO have done something better that could have improved the condition right now? I believe yes.
Okay, good question. I have the answer for it. So firstly, you stating the fact that I went misguided maybe of the question. I don't think I went misguided in any way. I talked about the mandate of WHO, and that's very important. Being a UN body, it's important to have emphasis because it is an organization with structure. So no, I don't think I went off script. I think I was explaining why certain, especially many of you did bring out the fact that, oh, this, SARS, that, and Taiwan. So I wanted to bring emphasis towards that and bring that perspective of WHO. Now, to your question, could you repeat your first question? I just didn't register it.
It's okay. Generally, any report, whether it be from Taiwan or whether it be from Beijing, has to be peer reviewed before it is given any international importance. In this case, both reports are not peer reviewed. Right?
Right.
And still, WHO decided to side with Beijing.
Okay.
Do you have any clarification on that?
Okay, right. So again, I'm going to go back to my point on the mandate of WHO that they cannot enter a country without the country sending them an invite. So now, if you say peer review, now how do they do it? They have two information: one of their member state that has been funding and also been a regular member for since 1948. China was one of the first members of WHO, and Taiwan is not a member state. So getting the primary source would probably be the most credible source that's what I'm stating as could have happened. Did I answer it? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Harshita. Last but not least, we have Reejul Raj from Manav Rachna International School, Charmwood. Reejul, please go ahead.
Greetings, esteemed educators. Today I would be going against the motion, did WHO fail the world in its pandemic response? Abraham Lincoln once said, the dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty and we must rise with occasion. Every time a world is faced with a pandemic, it is faced with a crisis never foreseen before. The pathogen is new, the geopolitical situations are unique, the social economic conditions are diverse, and the remedy is unknown. And it is here the World Health Organization is tasked with diffusing the situation, containing the pandemic while maintaining the best possible standard of healthcare for 7 billion people. When in a crisis, we must act swiftly, but we must act aptly. And that is exactly what the WHO did. When on 31st of December 2019, Wuhan Health Commission declared that it had 44 cases of pneumonia and suspected a novel coronavirus, within 24 hours, the WHO had mobilized 3 IMST, Incident Management Support Teams, on 3 levels: organization, regional headquarters, and country level. 72 hours after this, it had already published its first risk assessment, which was very high for China, high for the world, and had given advice on detection and control to countries. Words were not minced, the threat was not downplayed. Even when dealing with a country like China, the WHO had a delegation on ground within 3 weeks, and a team from an assortment of countries containing some of the world's best epidemiologists on the ground by February, whose report is publicly available. Within 10 days of China coming clean, WHO had published its precaution plan, which clearly included airborne aerosol precaution, droplet precaution, and contact precaution. Once again, words were not minced by WHO. While dealing with the WHO, we must remember that it is not a governing body. It does not have executionary powers. Its aim is to foster cooperation so that it can guide towards the best healthcare possible. To quote, its mission is to publish and disseminate scientifically rigorous public health information of international significance that enables policymakers, researchers, and practitioners to be effective, and it has been doing just that. After declaring the COVID situation a public health emergency of international concern, a PHEIC, 72 hours after that, it had already come up with a strategic preparedness and response plan, which was based on IHR 2005, International Health Regulation Act, for IPC of ARI, which is Infection Prevention Protocol for Acute Respiratory Illnesses. The IHR was framed in accordance with high participation from US and Russia, which were the first to defect from WHO guidelines. And the WHO stayed true to its objective to provide the best healthcare possible to 7 billion people. And this document was not just rudimentary, it had been positively improvised to include the countries with even the weakest of medical infrastructure. The failure was somewhere else. If you look at Brazil, India, Russia, and the USA, which currently constitute over 60% of active cases, we can find the reason to be non-compliance and or defection from WHO guidelines. Let's take, as my friend has already covered the USA dimension, let's take Brazil. The first case in Brazil was reported in mid-March, and by the 16th of April, Jair Bolsonaro, the Brazilian president, sacked its health minister, to quote him, he wanted someone to open businesses quicker. The country took a south side turn. It has not recovered till date. It did manage to sack another health minister, though. In India, the guidelines were robustly followed. India's failure came because it did not meet international standards of food security, employment guarantee, and shelter for a majority of its population. So when it imposed these restrictions, the supply lines were stretched and the finances shriveled down, which made the urban centers implode. Panic and hysteria spread, misinformation ravaged the country from the inside, and the amount of migrant workers affected is comparable to the population of Uruguay. All this because India has failed to meet international guidelines for the past 5 years. And we must now, if we look at the UK, which made a tremendous recovery, and the case is especially worth noting because the UK put healthcare ahead of politics and global polarization. The NHS, the National Health Service, the public healthcare system of the UK, completely revamped its guideline to align itself with the WHO after. Even though Boris Johnson was against it at the beginning, and the positive results are in front of you. They will open stadiums at 25% capacity when the football season starts this week, tomorrow, in fact. So, and if you look at countries of sub-Saharan Africa, where the organization like WHO and Red Cross are responsible for almost all, if any, medical infrastructure present, the pandemic is well under control. And contrary to popular belief, it has not gone unreported. Mozambique conducted 0.9 tests per thousand, which is analogous to Mexico. Togo completed 0.11 tests per thousand, which is analogous, which is more than Indonesia, Thailand, and Bangladesh. And Taiwan, which disgraced the WHO, also failed to. It also conducted lesser tests than Togo. So, and the reason the UK recovered was not because it had some godly medical infrastructure. No, it has 2.5 beds per thousand. Brazil has 2.2 per thousand. It was because one leadership was prioritizing healthcare, while the other was prioritizing global polarization. Operational framework and jurisdictional restrictions played a crucial part in the lack of the robustness of the guidelines to be issued. So, as an aspiring surgeon, I can only put healthcare first, and the countries which did that have shown positive impact. And I would like to end by quoting Winston Churchill, who once said, "By the time the truth has time to put its pants on, the lie is halfway across the world." In a crisis like this, we are quick to blame and we are quick to point, and caught in the middle are often those who have done the most good. Thank you.
I'm so sorry. I keep forgetting to unmute myself. So sorry about it. So, Athena, you were going to ask a question to Reejul? Okay, all right. Please go ahead.
You talked about defections after April also. That is what you did. And you talked about various defections after April, and you talked about 72 hours after the pandemic. What about the wide stretch that happened between? What did WHO do then? The whole issue actually subsided, and the pandemic's response, which was the question in the first place, you gave a large answer, excellently placed, I must say. But the question here was, did WHO fail the world in its pandemic response? That means the response to knowing that there was a pandemic actually going on. When it gave ahead the guidelines that were actually taking place, there was a lot of information that wasn't well placed. Like Siddhant actually said, the documents weren't peer reviewed. That is one essential fact to remember. And there were many other cases, such as ignoring a lot of things from pre-published sites like from virology.org, and all of these various sites actually claiming otherwise. Besides, WHO itself has a lot of people who are very, very who are on top of their expertise. In this case, my question to you is this. Why exactly couldn't they respond as well and as fast as they were supposed to? That could have prevented so many deaths, so many cases that happened across the world, that could have prevented the national lockdown that happened in Italy.
Right. So the first thing we need to understand is that there's something which does more damage than a virus, and that is the panicdemic, which follows the pandemic. WHO, as an international body to which all nations look up to, has to be absolutely certain when it says something, when it publishes a guideline. And every time it published a guideline, it did not mince words. It clearly indicated where the precautions were supposed to be taken, how countries with even the weakest of infrastructures were supposed to deal with the pandemic. The allocation of relief funds and the research forum was set up almost instantaneously within the month of January. So the WHO acted very aptly, because in the given situation, it was responsible for 7 billion people. It was not responsible for the egos of USA or China. It was responsible for the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Reejul, for answering it. As we come to the end of the show, I'm really happy with the speeches and the way you've all put your perspectives out there. Thank you so much. It's brilliant to see the future leaders with such strong opinions. Wonderful. Good job, guys. So as we wait patiently, we let the judges evaluate the results and come up with a decision. So, ma'am, you can turn off the audio in the video while you evaluate the scores here. All right.
Entab is an educational technology company that has been delivering solutions since 2000 to improve the productivity,
We're still up
efficiency,
here. We can
and
probably talk.
reputation of a good school
why
and
not?
transform
Yes.
it into the best school.
Everyone, please
Understand
just
the problems
switch on
schools
your
face
mics.
while managing
Don't,
various
be very careful
activities.
while talking,
So we
because this will
endeavor
go
to
on YouTube.
automate and simplify their tasks.
Absolutely, we
Besides
know that.
100% accountability and communication, safety, security, and stability
So how was your
are also
experience?
vital.
Are you
Absolutely splendid.
Accuracy of the information and the
Alright.
dependability on the
Perspective
service
definitely
providers ensures a smile on
Yeah.
the faces of the customers.
Yeah,
We do understand that learning is based on various factors, and we acknowledge the need of 3D contents.
I
Augmented
really loved
reality
the
and
emphasis
virtual
Reejul
reality
paid
can help visual
on
and
the
kinesthetic students
grand scheme
excel
of
in
things instead of
learning,
just
helping us
focusing and
prepare
tunnel
a new
visioning into
India.
WHO. I
The long
really love that.
creation of
Department.
schools, repeated sales, reference sales, and
Reejul,
delivery
I
as an
think
innovator in the
Reejul,
education
you're muted,
domain.
I guess.
The
No,
new
he's
philosophy
smiling.
of
I'm
the
happy with
company
that.
is to look for
Yeah,
new, next, and better in every area.
Yeah, it is wonderful to have you all. Athena, something happened with your internet connection, but you made a strong comeback.
Yeah, I mean, I kept on talking. I didn't actually realize. So my connection went away, and then I realized, oh no, the connection went away. And then I just quickly rebounded with the mobile hotspot, and here I am.
It turned out well, didn't it? Okay. And yes, I think we had a similar issue with Shruti as well, right? I think something happened with it. With
Actually, the weather is not good, so there are a lot of issues today.
is it raining there, Shruti?
No, it's not actually raining, but the weather is very cloudy and it's like it will rain anytime soon. So
All right.
Also, Siddhant, did you go with the Oxford speech in the beginning?
You're muted, Siddhant.
I know what you did.
Thought that was a I think it came to me off my head that I'm the third speaker, and I think I was like, this is a good starting.
I know you watched Shashi Tharoor's speech.
Right. It was a splendid speech. I mean,
Yeah,
I
it
didn't see
is
anything
one of the
wrong with
best speeches ever given.
Absolutely. I absolutely love his work.
Yeah. So I immediately when you mentioned Louis VIII, I was like, okay, I know where this is heading. That's good. That was good. Yeah.
I think it's just a situation.
So it's one of Shashi Tharoor is one of the finest speakers, not just of India, but I think around the world. I think he's simply the best.
Okay, so who actually believes WHO actually failed?
I think it's a mixed thing. I don't think there's a right and wrong. I think it's mixed. It's quite mixed.
I actually believe.
Ashmita, what about you? Do you think WHO failed?
Since I'm the moderator, I'll let everybody talk.
Never to be on the spot.
Yeah.
Reejul, what do you think? Did WHO fail?
Now it's time for honest opinion, so you can say again.
I think when we deal with something as intricately biological as this, we must understand how the human cells and the virus interact. And when you look at that closely, there is no clear boundary. And what starts at that level, that there is no clear distinction between a yes and a no, I think that magnifies all the way to the top. So you cannot be completely sure until the pandemic is over. We have all the statistics, we have all the reports. Now, they mentioned everything was from the West Bloc. I'm not saying that they were compromised, but you need to have both sides of the story. They mentioned New York Times, which is again US, but you need something coming out of the neutral
All
to
right,
actually judge.
I'll tell you a situation, and then tell me did WHO fail or not. So many people, you guys quoted all the theories which are out there, right? But there are some incidents, if you relate and connect the dots, then you'll get to know who actually failed. Somebody pointed out international travel. Who pointed that out? Athena or Siddhant? Both of you guys, right? Well, why do you think Italy got hit so hard? Does anybody know that?
because initially Italy did not ban China from. I mean,
It's a tourist
initially
location.
Chinese.
By the way, let me tell you one thing. Where are the most workers from? China?
China.
There was a Milan Fashion Week going on in Italy during
Yes, exactly.
Wuhan crisis. Had WHO released advisory to ban international travel, Italy people would have still been alive in Italy. And during the same time, there was also a festival which was going on in Italy. So all the northern side of Italy was in south side, and that's why the spread of the virus was so magnanimous. So yes, WHO did fail. It is not about. I understand that it is about not creating a panic and everything, but we were talking about the response time. You have to take into account how you respond to a situation. And of course, what Harshita mentioned, H square, right? China has always been a country which will never let you in.
That's true.
China
So
will
much
never
sense.
let you in. Yeah, the two, they will. यार वो अपने लोगों को क्या ही आगे बोलूं.
This might prevent you from getting a visa to Hong Kong or China. So please be very careful whatever you say about China right now on this platform.
Not going to Hong Kong anytime soon, and plus, I might go to Taiwan though. But then again, मुझे क्या ही उठाएंगे अस्मिता.
No, sir. They're very strict. You never know. They might have some algorithm. They might scan all the videos before applying to visa. You never know. They have face detection. They have voice recognition. They have so many things going on. So you never know, sir.
Yeah, but I have visas from other countries. China ही थोड़ी बच गया जाने के लिए, especially after Corona.
Never say never, sir. Never say never.
Never say never. That's one lesson which I always say. Never say never, Ashmita. Yeah, thanks for pointing it out. Never say never. Who knows? We might sell an ERP and Lawrence might ask me to go there. So yeah.
Like the denied.
Yeah. That's true. That is so true. So yeah, never say never. Reejul, honestly, all the diplomatic answers aside, tell me your honest opinion, man. All the diplomacy aside.
The fact is, sir, that it is very hard to have an answer right now. We have 24 million active cases.
No, and yeah, we are so much in. I'm not saying whether it's a pandemic or not. We already know it's a pandemic. What I just want to know an opinion about is, did WHO fail in response?
I quoted Abraham Lincoln at the start.
I know you quoted Honest Abe.
So
I know that.
So
and
there is always
again, you're quoting politicians. Are you serious?
Because
you quoted Winston
the world
Churchill as well.
Sorry. The world is prioritizing politics over healthcare right now.
Yeah.
You cannot deny that fact. That is one pillar which is true when you talk about this pandemic. And just like that, there is also always the China dimension, that the WHO played a hand soft, which I agree could have been sterner. They should have sent teams in Wuhan within.
But they can't send in teams because it goes against their mandate. That's what I'm saying.
That's the politics coming ahead of the healthcare.
But that's not politics. That's just a mandate that was made in 1948. You can't call that politics. Politics is when people, okay, fine, I agree, WHO didn't take their part seriously, and I agree to that. But then politics came after declaration of a global pandemic, and then risking a global super economy.
No, darling.
No. Wait. No. Can I please finish?
No,
I didn't finish my sentence.
No.
Could I just finish my sentence?
Okay, go on.
So I was trying to say that the US took 6 whole weeks, and with 86,000 cases in the US, okay, 86,000 cases in the US, that's when they emerged their first social distancing platform. That was the first time they ever brought up. So the thing is, I'm not defending WHO in any way, but I'm saying it's their mandate. You can't go against a mandate.
Athena, wait. Athena, wait. Again, you're talking about politics. What I meant was, it could have been contained in China itself. It could have been.
That's...
Tell me, do you seriously believe that if WHO would have given or would have issued a flying advisory to all the nations, and we would have just stopped international? No, because you didn't want the global economy to, you cannot afford a global recession after 2008. And that's what has happened.
Right, but 2008 was limited to the US. wasn't limiting to the global economy.
Excuse
It
me?
wasn't the financial recession was.
Where were you 12 years ago?
I was a
2008
kid, but then I'm saying no.
businesses, Finland collapsed. Greenland, it
Yeah,
didn't
but then
even
that's the
start in
thing.
the
No, but
US.
that's the thing. You can't compare that to a pandemic. That's what I'm saying. You can't see the thing. What I'm trying to say is,
Athena,
it's okay.
Athena, go on.
Thank you. The US is not the epicenter of the world.
World,
When
yeah.
something happens in the US, it does not matter what happens in the rest of the world. When they inducted a travel ban, if they would have recommended to the countries that, hey, don't travel. It's good if you don't travel.
Like I said before, WHO. No, like I said,
small countries in Africa.
Harshita, wait,
all the
wait,
but the thing is, when
WHO financial crisis, the entire world fell.
Yeah.
Everyone.
No, but the thing is, that's the thing. You need to understand. You need to understand that WHO is not the most funded organization. They can't step against.
They can speak. They have an online presence. There are people
You don't need funds to be right, darling. You don't need funds to be right.
Produce a response.
I have a name.
They can go ahead and produce a response. You don't need to go there, officially stop the virus from happening. You don't need to be a barrier and be that strong man.
Okay, firstly, I agree. Okay, I agree the fact that WHO. I'm not supporting WHO in total ways, but I'm saying that it's not just in the case of WHO. I don't think it was fair for even for the Chinese government to conceal information. The thing is, SARS.
That we all agree on. That we all agree on.
Okay, it's okay. Okay, no, that's the thing. What I'm saying is SARS was a different situation because at the time WHO had a better funding. They had a better funding system because that time countries cared more about health than trade. Now, if you look at World Trade Organization, it's the second most funded organization of the UN body. So now all I'm trying to say is, I get it. WHO was not in the right in many parts. I will agree to that, but it's not also okay to neglect the fact that there is China who the thing is, it's always like the blame is going to WHO, but the thing is the source always started from China.
Yeah.
And the thing is SARS was contained because
Relax.
they were able to send an emergency team.
Okay, it's good. What you said, your point. Wait, guys, wait, relax, please relax. All right, please relax. Keep it civil. Keep it civilized. All right. Yeah, darling. You were saying, Shruti?
Yes, actually. So I think even if I agree with you, Harshita, that they did not have funds, but I think to speak up openly about against China, I think funds were not required. They could have condemned China's actions, right?
Yeah.
And also,
I am a strong believer in power comes with
Harshita, wait. Just wait. It's good to listen as well. Sometimes you're talking about when WTO's funding increased. That was after the recession. Reejul, I will get to you. Just give me a quick moment. WTO's funded increased after 2008 recession because the world economies collapsed.
Well, okay, that's understandable, but that's what I'm saying. Right now, I'm not saying politics took a turn, but I'm just saying that we are at a world where we believe or we focus more on economy rather than health. So now you can't deny the fact that countries stayed up open. No, I'm not only saying about US. There was the US thing was because of the trade deal with Beijing. That's understandable. But then even UK, I'm talking about like the whole P5 nations. Like they're the super economies. What happened to them?
All right,
That's just an example that
guys who are waiting for the result. Relax, Harshita. Guys,
I'm not angry though. I'm just telling you.
I know you're not. Saying. Guys who are waiting for the result, please calm down. Those who are watching us on YouTube, our jury members are taking care of the results. This is just a healthy discussion that is going on because we just want to know what actually is everybody's point of view. And Reejul, I'll get to you now.
Sir, I just want, let's start by agreeing on something, all of us, right?
Yeah.
COVID-19 affected trade, affected business.
Of
Yes
course.
or no?
Of course.
By a
Of
show of
course. Of
hands.
course. Without a doubt.
Yeah. Apart from let's put aside that it is a pandemic. Okay, it is a health condition. All right. It affected trade that enraged US, Russia. You can talk about it, right?
Right.
Malnutrition has been going on ever since African colonies came out of colonization. Why was US not enraged against malnutrition? The WHO works there. Why is not anybody asking those questions which are actually important? Malnutrition is and always be a bigger problem than COVID-19 and trade.
Malnutrition is something else. Then how do you counter Ebola? Because Ebola, malnutrition has a cure. What about Ebola?
Exactly. This is
No
like a
vaccination against COVID-19. No vaccination
The
against
cure
COVID.
is known, yet no one wants to act on it because the big five, it does not affect their trade, right? China exports bacon to the US. Americans will continue eating bacon whether African kids get fed or not. That is not going to change.
By the way, India is the biggest exporter, not China.
Continue.
What is your point? I mean, what you're trying to bring into the table? That is what I'm confused about.
No,
When you
he's
talk
saying
about
that
trade, malnutrition.
because COVID-19 affected the trade, that's why there is so much of outrage. Reejul, there is an outrage because there is no cure for it. And yes, people have lost their jobs. There have been massive layoffs in the IT sector, which was actually not affected by it. But yeah. Uh, so apart from that, see, after 2000, this is a recession which nobody could anticipate anymore. It, your, can you imagine the petroleum industry? There came a time when the barrel was selling at negative value. An industry which never got affected. Then apart from that, your hospitality industry, your tourism industry. So yeah, trade is a factor. Trade is the biggest factor. That Hi Siddhant, welcome back. Where have you been?
Did I disappear?
Yeah, man, I couldn't see you for such a long time.
I've been here all along.
Oh, okay. Come on, man, add something, Siddhant.
Where were we? Okay, yeah. First of all, coming back to the China entire thing, it would have been it just would have been easier if WHO had initially stated that we are not being able to gain entry into China, and
yeah,
right, they should have just stated we are not getting entry in China. There is evidence of human to human transmission, but we don't know for sure. Just apply some political pressure from outside. That
would have worked. That's what I'm funding. You forget the funding. That would have actually worked.
Exactly.
A response is all that was needed. Like a bit of
right.
And that would be one thing they didn't do.
And the worst
I
part
agree to that. I mean, I do agree to that.
The worst part is the support, the way they supported China. That is that what enraged me the most.
I mean, I think that's all because the DG was, elected by the Chinese bloc.
Yeah, of course.
Right. And added to that, I think, if they would have acted even a week before, if you just shift the timeline a week towards this side or 2 weeks towards this side, you're looking at cases going down like this.
Yeah. And also, okay, I'll be very honest. All of you guys, just give me one answer. Did anybody see that Wuhan pool party photograph? Who was enraged by it? Exactly. I swear to God.
What?
Harshita, welcome back.
I didn't hear. Sorry.
So, did you see that Wuhan pool party photograph?
Yeah.
Were you not enraged by it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally not I'm against the whole Chinese thing, but yeah.
Ashwita, you have the results?
And China is
You're on mute.
Okay.
Ashwita, you're on mute.
I'm so sorry, sir. Actually, I was in conversation with a few educators at the moment, so I'm so sorry. I just couldn't get the conversation. I'm so sorry. I'm going to hear all this back when it's on YouTube.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to know, do you have the results?
Yes, I do.
All right, proceed further then.
Okay, all right. I know everybody's super excited to hear the results out, but before I announce the winners, I will request the esteemed jury members to give their feedback, suggestions, and how we can improve on our performance. So let's start with Anuja ma'am. Anuja ma'am, please go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. Well done, students. Was a great time. I will give my feedback. Yes. Athena, Biju, level facts were used more appropriately. Wendell child. Secondly, Shruti Raj, points were good, but you should have given examples or elaborated more precisely. That is what I was expecting. Points were good for Siddhant, but only the thing is that it should have been more concise and structured. Now, Harshita Hari, you should have emphasized on WHO measures. So many things you have included, but the more precisely you should have emphasized on WHO measures. Harshita, one more Harshita, good. Need more elaboration. Okay. And Reejul Raj, good facts, perfect presentation were supplementary to your points. I liked very much. Very good. Well done, children. Very good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for wonderful feedback. I'm sure all these tips are going to really help us out, improve our speeches and how we present our views forward. So now we'll move to Vandana ma'am. Vandana ma'am, please go ahead.
Great evening, Ashmita. And the role of WHO definitely is a moot question. And as I guessed, I was right. We had a plethora of young talent. And as expected, great arguments were made this evening. I think all of the candidates presented very well structured arguments and presented them very well. They were very, very convincing. All of them were very, very confident and assertive. But yes, a few were exceptional. I absolutely agree with Miss Anuja. When it comes to Athena, I felt that she was very, very confident, efficacious, very, very articulate. In a nutshell, I was making my notes. I think she was very distinct in the points she made, and her rebuttal was very, very strong. When it came to Reejul, he came across as very, very proficient. I thought he looked very, very skilled,
confident,
very well prepared for the debate. And the best part was that I think he sounded very, very sure of himself, as a debater is supposed to be. So, my heartiest congratulations to all of you. It was absolutely a pleasure spending this evening with you. And somebody wins, somebody loses, but I think it's always important to learn from each other. That is the most important thing in life. And personally, if you ask me, I think the role of WHO definitely is under the spanner and is a little dubious. Definitely.
Exactly. Thank you for confirming, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, I agree with you as well.
Exactly.
So now coming to the most exciting part of the debate, apart from the wonderful speeches we had. Thank you, Vandana ma'am, for the lovely words. So the winners are Athena Biju from GD Goenka World School for the motion category. Well done, Athena. Everybody,
congratulations.
Congratulations. Right.
okay. From against the motion category, it is
Reejul.
Reejul.
I knew it. Good job.
Very good. Good job.
Good job. You both were phenomenal, and so were others. Thank you all for participating. I'm sure you are going home wiser and brighter. So, okay. So, thank you, judges, for gracing the event. And thanks to the wonderful audience for pouring in so many wonderful comments. We are all going to go through them again and again, I'm sure. So, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to get more educational content like this. And see you all soon this Sunday for the quiz competition. Bye.
And tomorrow
Thank
is
you.
the talent show.
Please, this is for Entab talking.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Have a pleasant evening ahead. Thank you.
Everybody. Thank you so much. for joining.